Right. Just a little thing to say is, like I remember, like when I was at Walmart, I think once I became a cart pusher at the age of 19, because I was a people greeter for, I believe, only 8 months at Walmart. And they told me it was the store manager's idea to move me from part-time people greeter to full-time cart pusher. I was extremely happy to be moved to cart pusher at the time full time. Cause like I said at the time, stupid me thought that Chris Collender was gonna go through with a date back then. This was way before I met my husband and married him. So, as you can see what I'm saying, And the funny thing is, it took me of listening to a lot of Taylor Swift songs and a lot of songs to get over him. Back then, but I think even I memorized and was able to sing the Should Have Said No song, where I actually did sing that song out in the parking lot in Black River Falls, Wisconsin, in front of Chris Collender, and it ticked him off. It did. I'll admit that much. So I'll say this. Yeah, we should have thought about it all beforehand, but, and then during that first year, the cart pushers, they didn't really want to train me. I'll tell you this is why I don't like that, but, when they had me go out to be first trained as a cart pusher to run the cart machine, they had me go with the one young cart pusher that had glasses that started that year. And it was last name of Wood. Well, he just said, rat speed is fast, turtle speed is slow. Here you go. You can carry up to 25 to 30 carts, is what the guys told me at the time. And I went, whoa. And they let me off without telling me where anything went or goes. I had to figure out the job on my own, basically. But the ones that taught me more at the time was Claude Payer and Mike Noah, the older ones. And they were, at the time, already admitting that, that they were telling me at the time, this job's a lot dangerouser than you thought. Oh, which job do you like? They said, if I remember right, people greeter or cart pusher. Well, I said cart pusher because I wasn't bored, which was the truth, because I think I was as bored as H as a people greeter, and cart pusher I was doing more than just standing around and saying, welcome to Walmart. Thank you for shopping at Walmart. At the entryway. But, the big thing is, if I remember right, after all that went down, they both asked me, because they were both there, Mike and Claude did, they said, Claude goes, how old do you think I am? And I said, oh, I think you're 40 years old. He was sitting there laughing and chuckling at me. And he goes, how old do you think Mike is? And I said, oh, almost 60. No, I said, I think in the 50s. And he was sitting there laughing, and he goes, oh, no, I'm older than Mike. He was sitting there going, but thanks for saying that. That makes me feel better. He was laughing. And then after that, I got in wrongfully written up because I wasn't trained properly by an assistant manager at Walmart. And they said, oh, if the guys are doing this, you're supposed to tell us too. You gotta look out for yourself. And rant on them. Well, and he said, oh, you can't load 20 to 25 carts on the cart machine, only 20. And then he said, because the guys never told me how many carts you could hand push. So, obviously, during the first year, I gotten, double dared by the guys. How many carts could you hand push? So I think I hand pushed around 20 carts up a hill. Slowly going up a hill with no way of steering. Which I was somehow able to miraculously get them in there, but everybody, all the guys were laughing about it, so. And then we had a cart pusher, which they're always yelling at, telling him to turn his phone off, which was true. Mike and Claudia did tell him to get off his phone, turn his phone off, and one day he was not on break. He went straight to his car on the phone. Otherwise, he was steering the cart machine, talking on his phone when he shouldn't be. Eventually, he quitted. So, Walmart used to have 7 cart pushers, and they went down to only having 6. Then over the years, gradually, they'd only have the most, I think, 5 or so cart pushers all year round. There was a time where there was only 2, me and Claude. But then, with Tony Polzino, when he got in from Lawn and Garden, if I remember right, he was admitting to me that he gets drunk, and this was way before he turned 21 years old. And he was showing off and everything. And then when he ran into a vehicle and they caught him for drugs, he was admitting that he smokes weed, which I wished Walmart would have offered him help to get him off of drugs, because he was saying to me personally that he would get off of drugs in any way possible just to save his job. I don't know if that was a lie or not, so I can't really say that. And of course, at the time, I kept getting wrongfully written up for things, like I said, I didn't do or wasn't trained on, literally. So, if I remember right, the guy at Cart Pushers, they got so out of control, where we started being assigned to work on only general merchandise side was filling carts on, or the grocery side of the store to fill with carts. Or we were split in the parking lot, and then there would be a floater. So, and then that did not work with the guys. So what did the CSM do? They brought me over. They told me, we're pretty much washing our hands of this. And they said, we're not going to be in charge of them. They're not our responsibility anymore. Them cart pushers are your responsibility, Levon. And we want you to tell them to get back to work. Tell them they're lazy. Basically, they have me kind of doing the dirty work in that. And here, if they told me that we were going too slow, they sent me to tell them that they were going too slow. And here, right in back of me, and I knew this, the CSM would be sitting there with the clipboard and saying, now you tell them. And I just sit there. The one said, you tell this one to get back to work right now. And she was sitting in back of me. I remember that. And boy, them boys really did listen, but they didn't like me. So this is what started. They started trying to push me out of cart pushing, calling me old, pointing out if I had any gray hair showing, which I hated. So here I was in my early 20s, and they were all calling me, saying I was in my 30s. I was 30 already, which was pissing me off. And they were younger than me by 4 years or so, which was more annoying. So, like I said, that was when my right knee was starting to have more trouble. At age 22, that was when I found out, the doc broke the news that I have a condition with my right knee that starts with a B. She recommended that I no longer do any carryouts with chest freezers, nor any carryouts, nor lifting primarily. And she said, your cart pushing days are over. Done, finito, over, pretty much. That was a sad day. Otherwise, I was doing like CMN charity events as a cart pusher because Walmart was pushing you to do it, and I was having more fun. Yes, when I was a people greeter, I thought about quitting Walmart, and then all of a sudden, I just changed my mind and wanted to stay there. And it started feeling more and more like home at Walmart, I'll tell ya. So I started getting more responsibility over the cart pushers where I had to train them, and then I always remembered, well, if I'm the one that's going to have to train them, I don't want them to figure it out on their own how to do the job like I had to. So I would show them where things were, show them how to run the cart machine properly, telling them the exact number to load on the machine, and what's the limit you can hand push, and what would happen if you went over the limit. I would break the news to them, and then the big thing was, I think, like with all that, they were kind of thanking me for telling them and teaching them this way. Where, when I went to Dairy Frozen from cart pusher, I was still full-time in Dairy Frozen and stocking. Walmart finally let me help unload trucks, which was a big deal if you're a cart pusher. I mean, that was the greatest thing. And yes, it made perfect sense. And then here I was getting written up wrongfully again because I wasn't trained properly on the sales floor. I wasn't trained on some of that. So until they would, all of a sudden, someone had to tell you that, and it wasn't Lynn, my direct supervisor, it was someone from another department telling me. And that's what blown me away. And then after that, I finally got taught how to do pricing and all that. And I was doing feature management and having fun going to these store meetings, basically, and doing the Walmart wiggle and that. And shouting our Walmart store number 1277 Hut. It was another thing to say too is, they're saying how good I was, but I was one. And then at a meeting when I was a cart pusher, this was my second to last year cart pusher, so I could say this in the memory. Before Ben Foss took over, JP shouldn't have said this at a meeting, because JP and I were good friends, and we had lunch breaks together once in a while. Once in a while we would talk in the parking lot. He would help me push carts in, and and giving me advice because he was a cart pusher at one time. And I remember this. He said in a meeting that was required, and we were set scheduled time to go to it. And I felt like hiding. He said in the meeting in front of a bunch of people, and a lot of them were the members of the Fabulous 5 clique group. He said, when I promote Candy Sweeney up higher than department manager of jewelry, I want Levon the cart pusher to become the next jewelry department manager. And it made Sally Jo Polkmurray real mad, where she said, she is not trained for a sales floor. I would much rather have someone from the sales floor be the department manager. And then he said, cart pushers can run a store better than someone on the sales floor would. And that ended the argument, even though she was going back and forth with JP, her own boss, literally. And like I said, Ben Foss, when he took over, if I remember right, at the store, he didn't go coaching anyone right away nor firing anyone. He was doing small talks with certain ones. A year or two later after, I think, Cal Olson's son-in-law was saying how good of buddies he was with Ben Foss, saying he's a great man and this and that. He got fired by Ben Foss after being promoted to CSM. He was a truck unloader, believe it or not. And the other thing is, like I said, you can always follow the rules. What I would do is I was always scanning outs, making picks and getting picks out, and binning, working freight, doing pricing and that. So then all of a sudden I came down with and diagnosed with a pseudotumor, a fake brain tumor basically. I was out of work for at least a month and a half. When I came back, I all of a sudden was allowed to substitute as the dairy frozen department manager for Lynn while she was on vacation for a week. And here was Daniel. He did not listen to a thing I said, and I was trying to do everything in the book of department manager, making sure the area was nice and clean and well stocked. And I was doing accounts and alerts on the sales floor and back room every morning. And to the point they were having me even talking to the vendors besides Lynn. And I had to order less stuff for the store on the phone. So there was a lot of things I had to do. And I had to ask department manager of meats, Justin, when I had to first learn how much less I'd order the store. And he goes, just tell him 5 cases. So I told him 5 cases. So that's all I was telling them after that was 5 cases. So, yeah. And then made sure everything was nice and full and not overstocked was the thing, is what she said to look for. Making sure everything was cleaned and that you don't have much for outs, and keeping your features nice and full. That's what a department manager is supposed to do. Making sure, I think they told me you had to make sure that you had room for the next truck in the freezer and dairy cooler, or the assistant manager would come and chew you out, literally. So, and I was using a Telzon doing all this stuff, so. And two, they were also having me clean bathrooms if there was no maintenance. I was cleaning my own spills, obviously. So, and I guess after all that, like I said, I was still getting wrongfully coached over in as a sales associate stocking for things I didn't do. And then all of a sudden they didn't officially put me there permanently, but then I moved over to bakery. And if I remember right, it was all nice, and then, meeting some of the people there. And then, like I said, then they started yelling at you if you burned anything or did anything wrong, and I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong. And of course, they didn't really train you that good over there. I didn't want to tell them that. So here's what they told me. They expected that you had all the bread baked within 2 hours. All the bread prepared within 2 hours. And you're supposed to have, 6 hours of stacking to do. So they wanted all the packaging done within 1 hour. So they wanted it all done and filled way before everybody left at 4. So they were calling me slow and all that, and because you had to clean the floor before you left. So, and they were telling me, like the one time, which this is what, like I said, made people that was under Lynn when I was working with her over in Dairy Frozen mad. That I had to do department manager work when Lynn was not there or is off. The other one was PN no matter what. So, where they were saying I'm not really a sales associate, I was a department manager. So, I fell into that category again over in bakery. And they told me that flat out in my face. Saying when Helen wasn't there, I was in charge. I had to do the pricing when she wasn't there. I had to make sure everything was nice and clean and well stocked when she wasn't there. And I had to keep everyone in line. So, like I said, it's just an interesting thing to say, but... And then all of a sudden I started getting wrongfully coached for supposedly bread getting burnt in there when the thing was going off. What I started suspecting at first was maybe the oven wasn't working right. The owner said it wasn't working right and they reported it. But I still got coaching and I didn't do anything wrong. And then after that, and I was sicker than a dog. And we threw that burnt bread supposedly away, and it didn't look burnt, I'll tell you that right now. I was sicker than a dog. Here, Felicia, who was the donut maker, told me that they seen, the little blonde hair girl in bakery that was supposed to be a cake decorator press a button and it stopped the bread from baking properly. Here I got wrongfully coached again over that. Now let's back up some things. I was wrongfully drug tested at Walmart when a customer framed me, claiming that I scratched their vehicle with the roll of carts. I did not. I wasn't even near there. I couldn't prove it. And that she had that scratch way before I even got near there. So what management, this 2 assistant managers, Leslie and Sydney, threatened me after they coached me wrongfully over that, even though no drugs showed up in my system. They said if this happens again, they'll make up a story to get me red flagged, and they will red flag me and fire me over it. And I was bawling when they told me this. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even suspect it so many years later that the Fabulous Five would make up a story to get Leslie fired all because she told them no. You know. And she, if I remember right, ran out that store bawling when Ben Foss fired her like the Fabulous Five wanted. And, the year I got wrongfully investigated and fired, I'll tell you this. Ben Foss never let me tell my side of the story, which was hurtful. And another thing is he did not allow me really to gather my own witnesses. He went against Walmart's own ethics and rules, because it's like the rules state you're supposed to ask for, is there any physical evidence that the person actually did what is being accused of? Well, they didn't have any. And the witness numbers kept going up or down. So it was either 2 or 3, and that's what it was bouncing back and forth between. But people were telling me, like Jeffrey Olson, that there was only one person, that was Angie Requois, that broke state law and invaded my privacy and lied to Ben Foss, claiming that I was watching porn on my phone when I was actually playing Candy Crush Saga. I had no proof that I didn't do what was claimed. And then all of a sudden Walmart was asking me, do you got proof that you're innocent? We don't want to hear that you had witnesses. We want physical evidence proving you're innocent. And I'm like, I don't have any. And I told them flat out that they don't have any physical evidence that I did anything wrong. And then they said, oh, we can't believe them and we can't believe you. We're just going to go by the higher number. And we're going to keep you red flagged. And I'm like, that's against Walmart rules and against state law, because the state already said you guys broke law. And you weren't allowed to fire me. Yes, the state of Wisconsin granted me unemployment, and in the letter they said Walmart was not allowed to fire me unless they had physical evidence, in which Walmart did not have physical evidence, so they weren't allowed to fire me. It said that in the letter, thus I was granted unemployment. So then after that, 2 weeks of being unemployed, all of a sudden I got a job at Gordy's Market and, Arcadia. I cried when they told me this. Think of us as your new family. Because, like I said, I've been trying all these years, like I'll tell you this, trying to get my name cleared and back into Walmart with the reinstatement and back pay. And then unknowingly, because at the same time I applied at Gordy's there, I also had applied at Shopko Hometown in Arcadia here. While I just started at Gordy's, they called me and set up an interview. And they said, LaVon, and this is when I met for the first time store manager Christina. And she said, I know you applied for teammate, but we think we got a better position for you, that you're more qualified for this, and the pay would be better for you. If you leave Gordy's Market, you think for yourself on this. Do what's best for yourself. Leave Gordy's Market for us. We'll pay you more money. which they did, because I was getting $8.50 working at Gordy's. And this job was going to be $9.36, and it was called teammate specialist. I didn't know what it meant, because I didn't see it on Shopko's website, nor did I ever heard of it. So, during my first day of orientation, there was another one. I guess she was a regular teammate. Here I was a teammate specialist. So she told me what the job meant in the clean closet. My badge said Levon on it, and it said sales floor supervisor right on the badge. She said it means you're a supervisor over the sales floor with another teammate specialist that is also a supervisor. There was only 2 of us that were direct supervisors. She said, you have no boss, which confused me. She said, the general merchandise department manager is an assistant manager. The backroom person is an assistant manager. The apparel specialist is an assistant manager. The customer service specialist is a supervisor. So if you're just a cashier, you're under the front end man, supervisor, basically. So then all of a sudden, if I remember right, which was starting to make me cry, was the general department manager at Shopko Hometown in Arcadia was